Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this, what is it, the 24th day of October. We're a week away from Halloween on this Monday. I know we've got a game coming up tonight. I like the Patriots to win and win big, maybe like a 30-15 kind of game. I kind of like the way they're rolling right now. Uh, Looks like Fields, they just can't get any protection on him. He'll make some plays. He's a primetime guy. I just don't know why they keep putting the NFL keeps putting Chicago in these big games right now. They're not very good. They're not a good watch. I know it's a big market. I guess it's the same reason why the Giants and the Jets, when they were bad, even though uh, you can kind of make the case they still kind of look like fool's gold. But I just don't know why that they keep getting put on national TV. Uh, it beats all I've ever seen. Anywho, not that the Patriots are world beaters, but got a good show tonight. I'll say this: two different reasons, two different teams, two different reasons. Same recommendation. Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers should simply retire after this year. Okay. Tom Brady is 38 years old. Tom Brady. Aaron Rodgers, he's 38 years old. He has a massive contract. The team traded away his best weapon in his prime, and they also traded away probably their second best pass rusher, who's doing well right now, Zadarius Smith with Minnesota. Of course, the best playmaker in his prime would be Devontae Adams. This team is simply not as good as it was last year. They have problems getting those two tackles acclimated back into the swing of thing, and Elton Jenkins and David Bakhtiari. We saw the pass rush there of this Washington football team with that. But I just think that because of Rodgers, his salary, plus where this team is, plus what else is out there, he's not going to win any more Super Bowls. I don't think he's going to break any more significant records other than maybe the lowest touchdown to interception record, which means he takes a lot of sacks and throws a lot too many balls away. I don't think he's going to get that. He's not going to get any more Super Bowls. I don't know what else he would want to do other than just gather up money, with that. But let's start off with Tampa. If I had to rate the two pickles, if I had to rate the two issues, believe it or not, with those four new offensive linemen with Tampa, I think they have the worst issues. I think the Bucks do. Tampa Bay Bucks, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Tom Brady, Leonard Fournette. Remember, Leonard Fournette was a former number 5 overall pick for Jacksonville when he was drafted. And all those players on the defensive side who's starting to get, a lot of them other than Devin White, they're starting to get a little long in the tooth, if you know what I mean. This team is 24th in points scored, 17.7 points a game. They're even worse in run offense. They are 32nd. They're 32nd. They are 6 yards less per game than the only average of the team in 31st position. They have no running game. They have they have Thurston Wirfs, and that's it. I mean, they are just awful at pass protection and run protection. And like, who was it earlier? Rex Ryan said on Get Up, and I agree. They do look slow out there. They look slow. And when Brady can finally get the ball off, he overthrows a Mike Evans. I seen that time and time again yesterday watching this on Red Zone. And that's because he don't trust that line whatsoever. Okay. And then when he finally does be able to break through and get something going, is it overthrown? or it's an underthrow. It's not on target. He is way off. He's not just a little bit off his spot. He is way off of his spot. And Pickle says their defense looked a tick off. They don't have the run defense they used to. It's still decent. It's decent, but they don't have the run. And, Jim Jeffcoat said it right on at the week 1 of the season. Jim Jeffcoat was saying, former Dallas Cowboy, who's on the podcast, Northeast Streaming Podcast Network. He's come on this program, and I go on with him and the guys on Sundays for 30 minutes. And he says, I don't think this is the best defense. I think it's just the competition they're playing. And that's true. Teams are running on them. Teams are throwing on them. We saw what Kansas City did to them. They gave up 21 points to a guy who played in the AAF, okay, to a team that traded away, the team that's trying to tank. They're trying to tank to get the number 1 pick. They traded away their best offensive player. They're trying to give away these 2 quarterbacks who are both useless, Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield. They can't give these guys away, And then there were calls of, well, what about trading a Derek Brown or a who was the guy's name? DJ Moore. And I said, no, those guys are still rookie contract guys. Particularly Derek Brown's a good player. So was J.C. Horn. But back to this Tampa team, I don't know if there's any fixing that, guys. I don't know if I don't think they can fix that. Only thing I can think of, and plus coaching. Bruce Arians did not want to do what was asked of him. Let's go back and look at this from the beginning, okay? Last year, at the end of the season, Brady abruptly retires off of rumors of a hearsay and rumors and all that, but the reporters are doubling down on it. He makes no formal announcement, okay? Then a few days later, he comes out and make an announcement. It's really clunky and jacked up. He stays retired for 45 days or something like that. Then he says he wants to come back. All right. If you're already talking about retiring, you're retiring. And then there's this backstory on Bruce Arians that he was micromanaging Tom Brady and the quarterback coach too much. I forgot his name. Leftwich, I think. Byron Leftwich, the offensive coordinator. So that ticks off Brady. Supposedly, Brady goes to ownership and says, I'll come back, but I don't want to play under Bruce. Let me play under Todd Bowles or somebody. And I'll work with Byron Leftwich, and we'll get all this stuff taken care of. Well, then all of a sudden, in air quotes, Arians wants to retire, step down as coach, but get a front office job. Then we go into the season about 3 games in to the Saints game, and we see him on the sideline, Bruce Arians with the red. He looks like a coach out there. So apparently he really didn't want to quit. He didn't really want to get out of the action. He was forced out. That's what it seems like, guys. And now that they're making all these mistakes, it looks like with Brady, all his personal turmoil with this divorce going on, then you've got 4 new offensive linemen on top of all that. Then you've got a guy, and coming back from an ACL from last year, Chris Godwin, your leading tight end retires. It's starting to all come together, and it's starting to look like a piece of crap. It's starting to look really bad down in Tampa, and you're seeing these memes. Brady came back for this. No wife, bad team, no great coach. Bruce Arians' presence is missing on that team. It's missing on the team. Boyles is more of a defensive guy. Leftwich was not ready to take on this much more responsibility. Brady's not the on-field guy that we thought he was as far as knowing the offenses. He's got his own issues. Plus, he don't have any time to throw. There's no time. They have the 32nd ranked run offense in the league. They can't get anything going. And as good as Brady is, And as quick as he gets rid of the ball, you can get rid of the ball quick all you want to, but if a guy can't finish his route, you're hitting the side of his shoulder, and nobody's open. Nobody's open. And he can't hold the ball long enough for him to get open. So it's just a whole big mess. You say, well, what do you recommend? Well, I think that he'll probably be in the shotgun more, Pickles. He'll probably be in the shotgun more. And I think that they should look at what guys like a Sean McVay's doing. McVay does a lot of shifting and motion. They've got to add that. And pre-snap, they're going to have to add, look at what Andy Reid's doing. I don't care if it's somebody you've never heard of. Get the fastest guy on the team that can hang on to the football, whether it be one of these backup running backs, be a special teams guy, but they're going to have to work on more jet sweeps. They're going to have to do more the more direct snap to the running back. They're going to have to do a lot of this stuff, guys. They're going to have to do more Wildcat. Why? Because their offensive line is terrible. It's right down there with the Steelers. The Steelers don't have it's a little bit. Steelers did okay. I read a stat that they're starting to rush better, but there is no push on their line. So they're going to have to, what you call, manufacture offense. And normally, under normal circumstances, Tom Brady, with 20-plus years of experience, working with Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels, who's done a good job as an offensive coordinator, and all the film study and all his presence of being around Peyton Manning and using some of what Manning done with the Colts, and he has got a lot of experience. He's got just as much film as Belichick's got. And watch and see what Andy Reid is doing down there in Kansas City and trying some of this stuff behind the line of scrimmage, shovel passes, the late handoffs. They're going to have to do a lot of this stuff. They're going to have to do a lot of gadgets, smoke and mirror. That's things you have to do when you don't have a good quarterback, which most teams don't, or B, a really, really, really bad offensive line. They got their offensive line right now is down there with, you're about to see a bad offensive line, by the way. They're going to kick off here in about 20 minutes, here in about 15 minutes, actually. The Bears have a bad offensive line. You know, like my dad would, stepmom will say to the dog, bad dog. This is a bad offensive line. Okay? The Bears, the Steelers, and now the Giants, they've picked up. But the Bears, the Steelers, and Tampa are the three worst offensive lines in football. They're the three worst offensive lines in all of football. I don't think it's fixable. But on the flip side, you look at a team like the Carolina Panthers. They fired Matt Rule. I don't know if it was last week or week before, whatever. Steve Wilkes is former interim coach. He wants to get a good job. He wants that head coaching job full time. And that's something that you really do not want. You really want to evaluate that before you do that. Or else you're going to have a guy like Dan Campbell. I mean, yeah, he's a nice guy, great story. The guy in Detroit, which they scored only 6 points with their offensive line, which is really good, by the way. But you have a guy like that who was an interim at Miami, and for about 2 or 3 games, they looked like world beaters. In the last 2 or 3 games, they were getting destroyed because he was coaching on emotion and not specific X's and O's and not concrete movement of the ball, right? So you got a guy, Steve Wilkes, there. And Carolina, they've got pieces on defense. You know, Derek Brown, J.C. Horn, Dante Jackson. And the defense is there. That defense is there to compete with anybody in this league. But the problem is now they've got multiple picks for Christian McCaffrey, which I talked about. on Friday. Second round, third round, fourth. So they got multiple 49er picks plus their pick. They did not want to win 21-3 Sunday. That's not what Mr. Tepper had in mind. Excuse me, I've had a cold the last few days, by the way. I've picked up. The weather is changing back and forth here, and it's killing me, Smalls. A little bit of Sandlot reference. Congratulations to the Phillies, by the way, and the Houston Astros for winning the World Series. I sent Jack Herschel an email this afternoon, and I hope I can bring him on Thursday because I know he won't be having a event to do called Watch the Astros and Yankees because the Yankees are eliminated and the World Series don't start till Friday. I digress. So my thing is Tampa's worse and Carolina, be careful about Steve Wilkes, okay? Let's not get this look like a Romeo Cornell type of situation where he takes over a bad Kansas City Chief team and they knock out the undefeated 12-0 or whatever Green Bay Packers in 2011, and they finished the season 4-12 and got a good record there. And 2 years later, he was fired. That was a bad pick. That was an emotional pick. You know, be careful of the interim. Some cases it's worked out. Some cases, for the most part, the interim coach does not work out. I mean, it really does not. I don't think the interim coach does, but I can already see that. But Brady, no offensive line. You say, well, how can he stay? Well, I mean, for him to stay there, they're going to have a player or two back. They're going to have their center back. You know, they'll have Shaq, back, Mason back. If they want to allocate some money, this is what I would do. I probably would do something with one of those receivers. They got too many receivers. They say, what? I said, yeah, that's what I said. Either Gates, Evans, or Godwin, one of them will be traded for help to get a better offensive lineman to help out with Wirfs and Shaq Mason and the center. You probably need a right tackle. You need another guard there, right or left. And remember, the older the player, the more you have to help them. The stream young and the stream old have to be helped. Like in life, right? You don't leave an infant there to babysit themselves all day, right? And you don't want to leave someone that is elderly by themselves either. They have to be put in homes. You know, my grandmother was on the floor for a day and a half one time. So the really young quarterbacks you want to build around, and the much older quarterbacks you want to go with extra, but you really want to give them extra time to throw the ball and give them a good to excellent running game. How do you think Peyton Manning, with all those neck surgeries, won the Super Bowl? C.J. Anderson, that running game, you know, that Von Miller-led defense that caused the turnover. You need a dominant defense, and you need a running game. And a really good, honest running game, not a cheap smoke and mirrors type of running game. That's what they're going to have to do now. You know, they're still in first place in the South, but they should not be 3-4. They should be 2-5, guys. They should have lost that Saints game. If it wasn't for the gift wrap interceptions by Jameis Winston, they would have lost that game easy. 12, 14, 17 points perhaps. You know. But so that's my issue with him. And, of course, if you're a Panthers fan, hey, you got some pieces there. Now go out and get a quarterback. Good luck. So Green Bay. Okay, now looking at Green Bay, it looks worse than what it is with Green Bay. I noticed that Green Bay, unlike Tampa, which, by the way, they beat Tampa, right? But they're in the middle of the road passing, 17th middle of the road, rushing 16. They're not quite as good as last year. You've got some new faces. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is had a big catch, by the way. Big catch Sunday for about 56 yards. Looks fine for me, with me. And then you have Devontae Adams who got a win yesterday with the Raiders. But Romeo Doubs, 4 targets, no catches. Sammy Watkins, who is constantly hurt nowadays. Sammy Watkins, I think you had 2 catches out of him. And then didn't hear anything from this other guy, Watson or whatever, the new rookie that they have. And, of course, you had Tanyan, and your leading receiver was Aaron Jones. He had like 9 catches and two touchdowns, which is your running back. But it feels like that the Packers simply do not have they're simply trying to work in Elgin Jenkins and David Bakhtiari. It's that simple. They're trying to get those 2 right and left tackles. By the way, I know that Chase Young didn't play. He hasn't played in a while. He might be back in another week or 2. He's getting close to coming back. But you still got Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat. You still got a really good defensive line up there in Washington, folks. You still got a good defensive line up there in Washington. That I said jokingly that they could beat Green Bay because they beat Tampa last year when Tampa had a good line intact. Tampa had a guy retire. They had lost a guy in free agent. Then they get a center hurt. And then they get a guard hurt. And you start doing that with a guy Brady's age who's not mobile. He tried to make a run, and it looked like he was running in quicksand. He's good at the quarterback sneak. But Green Bay, and it looks like that Rodgers has not got enough reps with these guys, whether it be Amari Rodgers, who just cannot. I don't know if it's a route running thing with Amari Rodgers or what, but it looked like maybe with his speed, maybe they could get something out of him. This Romeo Doubs, he's just missing these guys because he don't quite trust Bakhtiari to be Bakhtiari. He don't quite trust that other side with Jenkins. And these are really good players, but they're coming back from these long injuries, And I will say Bakhtiari's been out almost 2 years with that ACL. It's a pretty bad injury that could have ran his career. And last year at this time, their defense, by the way, which is also middle of the road, it was top 10 last year. Mainly because of Zadarius Smith. Rashawn Gary's not 100%, but who is? But Zadarius Smith, he's an edge rusher now with Minnesota because Rodgers wanted all the money. Now, he wants to complain about everything, but he does not want, and he wants to break the bank because his ego was bruised because they drafted Jordan Love a few years ago. And then he complains about not having right tools. Well, if you get over 12% of the salary cap, and this is going back like 15 years, any one player over 12.6, you don't win Super Bowls. That's how it is. You just don't win it. That's why I was saying the window for guys like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, he's still in his window where mathematically that doesn't add up. Russell Wilson, which I'm going to get to in a minute, and about this year and next year for Wilson. That's it. That's it. All these other quarterbacks, I understand you need the money. If you're a quarterback, I understand. And plus, he's got a thumb injury. Did I mention he's got a thumb injury? So you got 2 guys you don't really trust right now. You got multiple new receivers there. And you got a thumb injury. Plus, he's 38. 38 for, again, Peyton Manning. Who was it? 38, 39. Eli Manning. Phillip Rivers. Okay. Drew Brees, although you could see the deterioration at those ages. Brady was an outlier. He was a total outlier. Very focused, got rid of the ball quick, had one of the best offensive lines ever with that Patriot team. Plus, I also read that Snarnicki or whatever his name is, the offensive line coach up there in New England was one of the greatest offensive line coaches of all time. Now, he just recently retired. So my point is, you got to really think of this realistically. Once a quarterback gets in mid-30s, by the way, Matt Ryan is benched for the season, Pickles. He's benched until somebody else gets hurt. Then I'll get to that story too here in a minute. But he's 37. Rodgers is 38. Brady's 45. He has been playing on house money for about 4 or 5 years, guys. He could have retired after he beat Montana and got the 5th ring. That was when they beat Atlanta from that 28-3 deficit to be considered the greatest of all time. Now he's got 7. He could have retired after 2020. He should have retired after 2020. I mean, you win the Super Bowl. You did it without Belichick. You made your point. And that void was there. And now it's not looking good. And it's not looking good. And I've been saying this for about 2 or 3 years. It looks like it's not going to end well for Brady. And I just don't want that to happen. We set our narrative with these narratives in our heads. We follow these players throughout their career, especially as really loyal football fans. And you're starting to see it's not that storybook ending that you want. It's not the John Elway type of ending that you want. 2-time Super Bowl winner, walked off the field. It's not Peyton Manning comes back from neck surgery, cut from the Colts. So they could take Andrew Luck and not have him put in the way. So, but he wins the Super Bowl with 2 different teams with the Denver Broncos. He doesn't come back now. He was like the Tin Man. He needed oil everywhere. But Brady, I just don't know why he wants to do this. He cannot fulfill this void. But so yeah, I think Green Bay's fixable. Neither one of them are Super Bowl teams this year. That's the reality. Both of them should walk away. It's too much to move around for Green Bay and Tampa. Part of it's coaching with Tampa too. Part of it's scheme. It's coaching. Maybe he can force his way out of Tampa and go to another team. That would be kind of pathetic for Brady at 46, But this is the reality of it. And what can they do? Well, again, use the speed on the outside, use the shotgun more. It's a lot of stuff that can be done. Whether they'll do it with Brian Bauer and Leftwich and Todd Bowles and Tom Brady, who's supposedly one of the brightest minds in all of football, we shall see. My prediction is that's probably what they're going to try. Try some in-the-round stuff. They're going to try some speed stuff for behind the line of scrimmage. And Brady's going to be in the shotgun more out of necessity, not out of luxury, out of necessity. That's my thing. Time coaches everywhere. Pickle says time coaches everywhere. Love that spotlight and his wife and kids. Yeah. And the spotlight I think people, here's the thing about that. Sometimes we get caught up in the moment so much that we simply think that everything is going to be fine, even without that support system behind us. He felt like everything was going to be just as smooth as silk. And now he's realized he's a human being. He's got feelings for having that family around. And he realized how lonely he is. And that void doesn't feel as exciting when you don't come home to celebrate with the wife and kids. That's me playing armchair psychologist, just from a little life experience, I guess. That's what I'm kind of sensing Brady right now. Could be wrong. Could be wrong. You know. And then Godwin's the best trade bait. Yeah, Pickle says Godwin would be trade bait. And then of course Lazard got hurt. You know, when it rains, it pours, guys. When it rains, it pours. So, anyways, there was other games in here. You know, I just got to talk about this Seattle thing, okay? Every day, every week, Pickles, that goes by in the NFL, especially a week like Seattle goes to the LA Chargers, and what did they put 37 points on the Chargers at home? And Kenneth Walker had a great game, almost 200 yards rushing. But Seattle's 5th in points. They're 10th in rushing. Geno Smith, as of now, as of today, October the 24th, Geno Smith is 3rd in the NFL behind, in QBR, behind Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. He's above Brady. He's above Rodgers. He's above Jalen Hurts, who's on a 6-0 football team. Okay, who else is out there that's really good? Russell Wilson, the guy was traded for him. All right, Justin Herbert, a sensational player. Tua, really accurate. Tua's a very accurate player. I'll have to give that to him. Okay, but he's above. Geno Smith is in rare company. All right. Seattle's leading the West at 4-3. Now, they're still 28th in defense. You know, remember they got rid of Bobby Wagner, too. Meanwhile, Denver is 2-5. One of the worst offenses towards the bottom with the Indianapolis Colts. Wilson out with the hamstring injury, which I thought he was going to play. But my prediction was if he's out, the Jets win. If he's out, the Jets win. That's the way I went. And my guess is there's a lot of problems with Wilson that wasn't entirely innocent of in previous years, those problems. There's a guy named Greg Cosell. He is kin to Howard Cosell. It's his nephew. And last year and the year before that, he would come on certain shows, Colin Cowherd, for instance. I'd love to get him on my program. I think he charges to do that. Who works with NFL Films, and he says, let me tell you something. I understand Pete Carroll's a big-time run-the-ball guy, old-school offense, big defensive this, and couldn't get him an offensive line. But he says, you know, he's stepping into a lot of these sacks, talking about Russell Wilson. Now, Colin Cowherd's a guy from Washington. He's a fanboy of Russell Wilson. But this guy, Greg Cosell, said, you know, not everything is on Pete Carroll. Not everything was on Pete Carroll. Yes, Pete Carroll missed a lot of draft picks in the last 5 years. A whole lot. It's way back. He was hitting home runs and grand slams his first few years with Seattle because he was so caught up in the recruiting. He knew guys like not Marshawn Lynch. Well, he knew about Lynch too because he went to Cal. But I'm trying to think of the guy. Richard Sherman, guys like him, linebackers, defensive guys, just one good hit after another, right, on defense. And, you know, then you had the 12th man up there. Everything worked out for a perfect storm. Got Russell Wilson in the 2nd round. Okay. You know, but my point is a lot of that was true, but also the fact that Wilson was coming Hollywood on us and we didn't really pay attention to that. So listen to this. This was last year. Remember, Russell Wilson was traded, 6 months ago, right? This was in 2021. Russell Wilson and Sierra, his wife, signed first look TV and film production deal with Amazon Studio. Geek life, fun stories, memes, humors, and other random items at the intersection of tech, business, science, and culture. That's his pop star wife. Now, I mentioned this about a month ago when the season first started. He's got this big medallion sticking out while he's playing the game. Now, I know a lot of good players wear jewelry. Guys like I think Derrick Henry's got a necklace. Don't ask me why players do this, but he's got one on this necklace. Deion Sanders, we talked about last week. He always used to wear jewelry. But when I read this, and I've heard something about he's caught up with the celebrity wife, and then I started hearing something about him holding out for more money, and he's giving deadlines and all this. And it's all starting to come to fruition. He's feeling himself a little too much. He's wanting a lot of money because of what he did in the past, back in 2010, 2011, and 2012, 8 years ago. Stuff that he's done 8 years, and Seattle gave in to him, and he's into this pop star. See, she's the one pushing for that money. See, really good-looking woman. Did have a kid by a rapper, famous rapper. I can't remember the guy's name, but they had a kid. This guy presents himself as a choir boy and everything else, but he likes the girl with the edgy side, the hip girlfriend, the wife. He's starting to get the kind of like LeBron. Look at the mess that the Lakers are in. Getting distracted with all the film and the brand stuff. So Wilson's turning quietly and secretly. Remember, he's way out there in Seattle on the other side of the world. Now, if he was playing for New York or one of the Eastern teams, Eastern Coast, we would have known about stuff like this Amazon deal where he's playing in LA, a big market. We'd have known about this a long time ago. But I just now looked this up, and this story was back in May of 2021, over a year ago. And meanwhile, his play is going into the toilet. Okay, let's fast forward now to this year, and the trade gets done. This trade, Pickles, is looking like the Herschel Walker trade. It looks like Seattle, who did not want to trade this guy. I'm writing career obituaries for Pete Carroll. But, man, I keep forgetting they got Noah Fant. Shelby Harris, that is a defensive tackle. They got Noah Fant, great tight end, not being utilized enough. Shelby Harris, defensive tackle, excellent defensive tackle. The 9th pick, which was for Denver, they got Charles Cross. He's holding it down at left tackle. And we talked about, got this guy, Boyle Maffey. I think he was a second round, also a tackle. But then they turn around and get Kenneth Walker in the second round, who had almost 200 yards yesterday from Michigan State, probably the best running back in that draft. So they get all these players, plus they got next year's first round pick. And Denver's losing. And I want to say they got next year's second round pick too. I mean, they just come out like a bandit. 222 first round Charles Cross, second round. I mean, they just really, really come out good on this thing. Yeah, 2022 first round. I mean, man, but you can't make this stuff up. Now, it's early, Pickles. I mean, I understand how early it is, and this could very well just be a bad start. But this divorce, this is all going towards Seattle. But if you're Seattle, you got to think to yourself, okay, you're Pete Carroll, and you're chewing that chewing gum. You're 74 years old, got the energy and the hair. It might be great, but he got a full head of hair. 73, 74 years old, but he looks like he's about 55 with gray hair, if you ask me. He's running up and down the field like he's a young guy. But after this season, if things go all, by the way, they're leading the West. I thought this team might win one game the whole year. I thought they would be a lock for the number 1 overall pick. They've already got 4 games. And they blew out the Chargers, Pickles. Yeah, Kenneth Walker III, Abraham Lucas. I mean, all these guys are playing and contributing big time. Not to mention that they're going to have cap room. They're going to have cap room. But you get to tell a guy like Geno Smith, say, listen, man, you're a starting quarterback. You're doing well. Let's not get crazy here, okay? Why is this working? Because we're paying you $5 million instead of $35 million, okay? If you want $7 million, you want to play and potentially get endorsements, you stay here in Seattle. If you want franchise quarterback money, like the guy we got rid of for you, there's the door. This is what Tennessee should have told Tannehill, who's playing pretty tough. He's hanging tough. He's in a walking boot, but this is what Tennessee should have told Tannehill 2 years ago after they got the AFC Championship. If they do that, Tennessee probably wins the Super Bowl. They probably have another player. Maybe the year before that they go when they couldn't have a pass rush against Baltimore and Lamar Jackson beat them. Possibly. But this trade, you got a guy who will be 34 next month. 34, coming off a hamstring injury, owing him $200 million guaranteed. And they're probably going to fire Hackett. I can already see this. I think this is going to be a one and done deal. I just mentioned Steve Wilks, the interim coach for the Carolina Panthers. Well, Steve Wilks was fired after 1 year with Arizona. And Josh Rosen, 1 year. And they made the right call with Rosen. Rosen never did anything. He was a 7th overall pick. They went and got Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury. They wanted to get Cliff Kingsbury so they can make sure that Kyler Murray can play in the NFL level. And, of course, they could. I digress. But I just think that was an amazing, a totally amazing trade. Now, we're 7 weeks in. Things can turn around. They can come back down to earth. But I've been saying that since the week after Labor Day when they beat Denver and opened and they're just playing on. Now, it's easier. It's easier to build a defense than it is an offense. There's an art to offense. There's no specific. Only thing I know about quarterback play is you want a guy that's very low-key, that's dedicated like nobody's business to his craft, and low-key like an Andrew Luck, like a Tom Brady before all this, before the brand building. Have you noticed his play started going sideways last 3 years when he's brand building, and you want a guy that understands a big picture, that gets rid of the football quickly, and leads. He can lead verbally, but he can lead by example, too. Main thing is, like Al Borges said when he worked for the USFL, I guess that was in 83, he says, you show these guys how to make more money, you can get them to follow you. You show these pros how they can make more money, you get them to follow you. And that's wide receivers. We just talked about Elijah Moore. He's not going to get any big second chance money because he's not getting the ball thrown to him. He don't care if they're winning or not. He wants his. He was a healthy scratch on Sunday. But if you show these guys that you like Stephon Diggs, who's got another extension, because Josh Allen's lighting him up. He's lighting him up, But that's what it takes. You want a quarterback gets rid of the ball quickly and gets it to his playmakers and don't complain about everything and gets the big chunk after the first contract, but doesn't want to, air quote, be the highest paid or the biggest criteria. You want that to be done with, You don't want that. If you start to win, things start to come your way. I know that. Everybody loves a winner. That's what Newt Rodney said. I'm starting to see Tennessee stuff everywhere when I didn't see hardly anything last 5 years. University of Tennessee. Tom Brady still had the highest selling jersey way up in his 40s just a few years ago. Last year, I think. The guy's 40-some years old. What about Lamar Jackson? What about Patrick? What about these? No, these kids still like a winner, man. They still like a winner. You know? But anyways. So, anywho, it looks like, switching gears, that Jim Irsay is losing his patience. Maybe losing his mind. Last week, he says that, this is the owner of the Colts. He comes out and takes a shot at Daniel Snyder, and we have merit and all that, acts holier than thou. And now this week, he's in the news. I say he because it sounds like something he did. Matt Ryan's he's got a shoulder sprain. He had a fumble and a pick six and another interception. And Tennessee won 19-10. And Ryan the Colts are 29th in scoring. They're down there with Tampa. 29th in scoring, 16.1 points a game. And they're going to put in Sam Ehlinger, 24-year-old quarterback, second-year guy out of Texas, over Nick Foles, a guy who's won a Super Bowl. Go figure. That sounds like something that Jim Irsay wanted done because he's young and he's vibrant. Not to mention the fact that this guy had, Matt Ryan had 11 fumbles and lost 3 of them. So he's a stick man. He's a stick man back there. And my thing is, and this is Frank Wright said he's particularly impressed with Sam in practice since season started. The look that he's given on the scout team, the quality of throws, the way he's commanding himself out there, just a total package. I'm sure that's what Jim Irsay told him to say. But ESPN article says it appeared that the Monday's decision was influenced at least in part by the owner, Jim Irsay. And Wright, the head coach, called a collective decision along with an hour-long discussion with Chris Ballard, the general manager. Now, Ballard's done a good job. He's done a good job at every single position except quarterback. Every position except quarterback. I like Michael Pittman. I like Quentin Nelson. I like Shaq Leonard. I like Jonathan Taylor. I like Mo Alley Cox. DeForest Buckner. They've got players, man. Their left tackle there is good. Those are the key positions. They're decent at corner. Although Gilmore's a little bit long in the tooth there, they can probably lose another corner, if you ask me. But if it's me, and you look at all the quarterbacks these guys have went through, they're still getting over Andrew. It's like all their luck ran out when Luck retired. We said, what do you mean all their luck? Well, they got Peyton Manning. Then Peyton Manning gets injured, and then they get Andrew Luck, another generational talent, and waste his good years on a very heavily defensive-minded head coach. But they've had Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, now Matt Ryan. And what they really need to do is bite the bullet, Pickles, and get a guy. Now, Darius Leonard is a Pro Bowl to All-Pro level linebacker when healthy, and he ain't quite healthy yet. But if you can get him healthy in the next 2 weeks, I would trade him, and I would trade my pick and try to move up in the draft to go out and draft a quarterback. This is going to be a quarterback-rich draft. If Ehlinger doesn't, air quote, light it up. If he doesn't light it up, they're going to have to make that move and trade up and get one in the draft. See, they're good enough not to get to the playoffs, but not bad enough to get the number one overall pick. What do you do then? Well, you trade up. You got to mortgage some stuff. That's something Ballard don't like to do, but Ballard's going to be out of the door because Irsay's crazy. You know, he can be crazy. I'm not calling him crazy, but he can make some crazy moves sometimes, right? He could wake up December sometime and end after Christmas and say, okay, I'm firing everybody. Now they're all going to get paid. But if I'm Irsay, I'm looking at what Ballard's done. I'm looking at what Frank Wright has done. They got to the playoffs with Phillip Rivers. They should have got there last year with Wentz. He choked. He folded. He folded in that Jacksonville game. Okay. He should have got there then. They didn't. They were in first place for a little while. Then that stopped. Tennessee owns them. But they should have never went out and got Matt Ryan. I could have told them not to get Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's another fourth quarter choke artist, except he's not as athletic as Carson Wentz. I could have told him that for free. You could have watched SportsScope and got that, Pickles. You could have watched SportsScope. But so what I would do is get a guy like Shaq Leonard, get my picks together, look and see who's going to be picking up close to the top. Maybe it's a team that doesn't need a quarterback. Maybe it's the Chicago Bears or somebody, and they want to try Fields or somebody like that. Would Justin Fields work in this? I don't know. I know he's athletic. I know he's not really got off to a great start in Chicago because it's a little bit of chaos there. He's got good form. I like his form better than Lamar Jackson. But you go after a Bryce Young, this Levis who's going to play University of Tennessee, this Kentucky quarterback, he's got a proto style, somebody like that. Let them get a guy they could mold from the beginning, from birth, which is drafted into the NFL, and come off that way. Plus, you got his rookie salary cap to build around him. You guys already got a roster around him. Jonathan Taylor's at his prime, man. You got one of the better offensive lines in football, and you're still getting killed at quarterback because you got a stick man back there who's way past his prime, who has not got over that Super Bowl, Pickles. He has not got over that Super Bowl. Matt Ryan is still in 2000 and what was that, 15? 16? I can't remember now. I think it was 16 and 17. Yeah, it was 16 and 17. 17 and 18 was the Philadelphia year. 16 and 17 was a 28-3 year comeback. He's not got over that, Matt Ryan. So my thing is, that's what I would do. But we'll see how Sam Ehlinger plays out here. Shaq Leonard is a Roquan Smith type of player, but he's coming back from surgery, and he ain't been right ever since. That remains to be seen. Like I say on everything else, to be continued. But let me I got one more thing I want to say, but let me go to a quick commercial break. I'll be back in a minute and 19. Hello, SportsScope followers. After 5 years of doing this program once a week, balancing a 60-hour work week job, I've decided to do the program 5 days a week, 1 hour a night, taking a significant pay cut. So I've started a Patreon page, which is Patreon, Patreon/SportsScope, spelled the same way at the bottom of the screen you see there. For $5 a month, 17 cents a day, you can help support the program. You ask yourself, why SportsScope? Well, I bring in such big names such as Al Borges, former Auburn offensive coordinator, and I cover the big news in sports that the corporate media will not cover. If you want to contribute more than $5 a month, you can go use the Cash App. The cash tag is SportsScope, again, spelled the same way. Or you can go to the Zelle app, sportscope@gmail.com. SportsScope has about 5,000 followers and growing. If you want to advertise on the program, you can email me. The word is SportsScope, spelled the same way again, @gmail.com. Thank you and enjoy the program. And Pickle says Hooker may be a star from Tennessee, possibly. and Matt Ryan has never been a good quarterback on the road. Yes. So, anyways, going to the other coast here, making a left, stopping on San Francisco here. Kansas City on the road, scores 44 points. Called that game. I said they would go up there and beat San Francisco. Didn't think they would put that many points on arguably one of the league's best defenses. Nick Bosa was back. Jimmy Ward was back. That meant no, never mind. They're hitting them 40 ways from Sunday. Miko Hartman, 3 touchdowns. Isaiah Pacheco is now the starting running back. Juju Smith-Schuster had a big game because I had him on Fantasy Pickles. Valdez-Scantling had a 57-yard catch here. I had him on a fantasy lineup as well. But I'll just say this. Kansas City, Buffalo, and I'll go through the Power 5 tomorrow. Kansas City, Buffalo, and Philadelphia, they feel like they're way above everybody else. The other 29 teams are mediocre to those teams. But when Kansas City really wants to turn it on, they can play at an extreme level like they did. I mean, Frisco was not even in the picture. That play by Scandalin, there was nobody in sight. He had to wait on he outran everybody, and he had to wait on the ball. He should have scored there. If that would have been Tyreek, that's 6. That's like an 80-yard touchdown pass, But, yeah, they rolled the 49ers. I thought they would go up there and win. I didn't think they would play that well. The 49ers looked totally out of sync, never in that game. And Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, you just hope that they can get more than one Super Bowl out of that, because that is beautiful work of art, man. That was a great moment. I started off with the bad stuff. Probably should have started off with that, but that's the kind of league that you want to see. And Tom Brady and the Bucs, they are light year. The Rodgers and Green Bay, they're light years from that. Now, 10 years ago, the Packers looked like that with Mike McCarthy and Charles Woodson on defense, when you had Craig Jennings and you had Jordy Nelson and a guy named Jermichael Finley at tight end before he got hurt. They didn't look that good, but they can move the ball that fast. I don't know who I can compare this Kansas City and Buffalo team to offensively, but Buffalo is top 2 in both. And Buffalo didn't even play yesterday, and they're still second in point. It is, man. But Kansas City, you look at what they did to Tampa, which now we know Tampa ain't really that good. But I know the 49ers got a lot of defensive players. And for them to do that is really impressive, But anywho, everybody, that is just about it, what I have for today. I know there's a lot to talk about tomorrow. Interesting little tweet I read from Spot Track on Daniel Jones. I sent that to Carlos, Mad New Yorker. He'll get a kick out of that. About the fact that the Giants didn't pick up his 5th-year option, and the franchise money for him would be insane, just because they're 6-1 now. Eventually their luck's going to run out. It didn't this Sunday. I'd rather be lucky than good any day. We'll get into that Giants story. Talk a little bit of the Titans. They're a little banged up tomorrow. Get into some stories I may have missed tonight. Plus, maybe talk a little Bill Belichick. Definitely some college stories tomorrow I'm going to get into. Wednesday, probably won't have a guest Wednesday. And there'll be other stories. The NBA stories that I've got saved back for that. Got a good week of shows ahead for you all. But again, if you like the show, share the show. Yeah, and it was a great time. Very dramatic. The Giants remind me of the 99 Titans. They're just a really scrappy, play over your head type of team. And they've got some players on defense there. And I don't want to be too dogged. But the former Giants coach said, hey, look, you are what your record says you are, But I'll get into that tomorrow. We'll cover a little bit more of the AFC South and start getting into this god-awful league. I mean, like I said, I'll give you my Power 5, which is pretty easy. You got 3 right there. I have to do some studying and find the rest of them. But anyways, I will be back tomorrow, same place, same time, here on Sports Scope.